Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes! Amazing!
We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How are
me
you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 161 and we're your host Jake.
And Matt.
Here to cover all the events of Matchday 25 in Serie A while also discussing the bigger picture.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about.
Yes.
Like, it's only a singular match day that took place, but my notes are absolutely packed.
There's definitely a lot to say, and a lot has happened even after the match day, of course, in the
Today,
Champions
bro,
League. And today, with the news that has come out, the feud, of course. Actually, let's get into it later. Yes,
Yeah.
let's follow our structure.
Let's start from our goal of the week, and we were blessed this week. There were some beautiful goals, both team goals, but some miraculous strikes more than anything. I think Isaacson has to take it for his goal from miles out in off the crossbar against Napoli for the opener.
Isaacson's goal was incredible. And he also scored a fantastic goal in the return leg in the previous game against Napoli this season as well. He had curled it from the edge of the box, also a screamer. But I didn't know that Isaacson had this in his locker.
So he's not a guy that gets many goals, Isaacson. But
In Italy, though.
in
because
Italy.
in the... I can't quite remember where he was. We addressed it in the last episode in the league, in the Danish
I think
league.
the Danish
league.
yeah.
Yes, he was a top scorer when
Wow.
Napoli bought him.
Well, doesn't get Lazio bought him.
Lazio bought him. Sorry.
Doesn't get too many goals for Lazio. He has 2 against Napoli, funnily enough, this season. But he is supremely underrated. He's very, very involved.
He is.
In Lazio's attacks, and he really gives them this width. Zaccagni likes to come inside quite a bit, but Isaacson is always that wide option, really stretching the defense and allows and links up really well with Tati on the right hand side of the pitch.
He often I feel like he looks a little bit too timid for the Italian league. At times I feel this, in my opinion, was his best game in a Lazio shirt. He looked up for it, and he channeled some of that. Usually, Isaacson looks a little bit like a sheep, whereas on the other side you have Zaccagni, who's like a wolf. You know what I mean? Like the way they attack the ball, the way they approach the game, the way they involve themselves. Zaccagni is very good at that. He plays with a certain explosiveness, a certain cruelness almost to his game.
I get what you
While
mean.
Isaacson's a little bit more timid, but this game against Napoli, he was inspired and totally driven.
I get what you mean. There isn't much flair, I think, is the word. Zaccagni is full of it. Isaacson is more of a mellow footballer, just to put it that way.
That would have also been a goal of the week contender. That Zaccagni overhead
Oh
kick.
man, I couldn't believe it was well, rightly so, it was disallowed, but I couldn't believe it was disallowed. Honorable mentions go to Nico Paz, who scored a curler to beat Fiorentina 2-0, and a fantastic goal once again by Nico Paz, who just every week he gives us he's in the headlines every week, Nico Paz, at this point, and I think there's a lot of speculation about his future. Inter like him. Apparently Inter are going to receive some kind of budget for next transfer window, and Paz is on the radar, and they're meeting his dad and shit like that. I think Paz is in the right place. I think Coma's trajectory is going to be incredible. I think they're going to end up within the next few years being a top team, kind of like that, top team in Serie A. I'm not sure how long it'll take them to be contenders, but I do see that Newcastle rise, whereby they'll be a subject in the top 7 debate.
Because this is serious money. This isn't what we saw with Monza, for example. Monza, of course, were owned by Berlusconi.
Yeah.
still owned by the Berlusconi family to a lesser extent.
There's one key difference, though.
Yes, there's one key difference. The death of course, Silvio Berlusconi.
Yeah.
We're talking about a completely different level of wealth over here with this company that owns this Indonesian tobacco company that owns Como.
But this is a point I want to make later on. Much like Newcastle, who have Saudi money, they don't just splash. They spend, and they're bold, but they're very calculated. They make the right transfers. And they really showed us what their aspirations are with that 50 million Theo Hernandez bid. So I do expect a huge trajectory for them. Pinamonti scored an excellent goal, and he almost scored another excellent goal on the half volley on the turn.
Yeah.
He's really looking good. This is the first loan spell where Pinamonti has... I said this is a make or break season for Pinamonti and Piccoli. I think they're both doing better than anticipated, but Pinamonti...
Piccoli has phased out a bit.
Piccoli has phased out a bit, but Pinamonti, man. Pinamonti. Wow, he just fits this team so well, and they bring the best out of him. And this goal was super. I didn't think he had it in his locker. I thought he was more of an aerial threat more than anything.
What a goal. What a bloody curler. That was like almost Shevchenko-esque.
Right.
Really
I get you.
Goal.
Shevchenko has a really similar goal, funnily enough. And then there's the team goal by Milan, finished off rather by Alex Jimenez, or if that is his real name, because the Milan kit got me really skeptical about the footballers' names.
What do you think of that kit? At first, I thought it was a good-looking kit, originally, when I saw the photos.
Oh my God, we're on totally different ends of the spectrum. I thought it was ugly, I saw it in play, and I liked it apart from the quotation marks.
The quotation marks I can't stand. That's like an off-white thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like... Leo, like if that's your real name, you know. Like,
exactly.
However, that splash of green at the bottom can't stand it.
So I'm not a big fan of the splash of green. The color combination of like that orange, that red, and that green, I like it. It gives me Venezia.
I think that's the thing. It's super retro.
The color combination works. Would I buy the kit? No, I think the black to green is super abrupt, and the green can really blend into black. They could have done a better job.
I just don't understand the point. It's not going to look good. You know, you can't wear it with jeans if the bottom of your t-shirt's gonna look like it's been
with blue jeans, maybe you can. But anyway, we're deviating a hell. But
for me, it was the other Jimenez who did the best bit here. What a move!
Alex Jimenez is dinked ball to Leao after cutting inside so well, and then Leao did so well to square it to Santi Jimenez, and Santi Jimenez nodded it home. Another goal for him, and he scored midweek in the Champions League against his former team as well. And I forgot as well. Sule scored but the hardest free kick you can score is when it is just on the edge of the area, when the wall is almost too close.
And you know, you did a perfect job when it just clips the inside of the post on its way in, because that's literally unsavable. I'm not sure you mentioned Elmas. Elmas had a lovely goal as well.
I didn't mention Elmas. Wow.
What a goal. It was spectacular. Describe it, bro. How was it again? He kind of took on a player.
He took on a player and then just dinked it over the keeper ever so slightly. But it is those that ball control that he has, where it seems like he can't lose the ball. Similarly to Colomwani in that assist that he had, just that ball control. It's like the ball is stuck to their feet, man. Some players, and Elmas really has that. He's so technically gifted. I think you can practice your first touch every day, but there are certain players that just have it naturally. Leo Messi is obviously one of them, but hey, there's players like Dimitar Berbatov as well that have that. Ronaldinho has a first touch like I've never seen before. But yeah, Elmas is apparently part of that conversation.
Apparently it goes Messi and then Elmas.
Exactly.
No, Messi, Musa and then
Elmas. If you guys are new here, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere we are. So engage with us everywhere. We're trying to grow each of our portals, so wherever you are on, show us some love over there, and we return the love. That's a good thing about us. We're very engaging with our community. We love our community because you guys are just like us, we're just like you, and we love building relationships. And rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. We have a 5-star rating on Spotify that we'd love to maintain, and would love to get more to make us more credible, more legit, and for people to start taking us seriously when it comes to Serie A podcasts and football podcasts in general.
Absolutely, yes. The whole point of this show, remember, is we wanted to create a football community, and through our Patreon group chat, that is what we have successfully managed to create. We have the ultimate group chat of people from all over the world. It's so much fun. And our latest addition to it actually is Maxadonna, who we have to wish a warm welcome to. Welcome to the family.
Yes.
You have officially become a spothead.
Yes.
If you would like to join and follow in Maxadonna's footsteps and become part of our family, part of the community that we strive to build and grow and maintain, you can find us on Patreon. The subscription fee is $3.99 a month, and that money will always be reinvested into the podcast.
Absolutely. We're working on a website right now. Thank you very much to Adam Ryan. If you guys need a website, I definitely recommend Adam Ryan. Reach out to us and I'll give you his contact details if needs be, but I'm not just going to plaster it everywhere.
Adam Ryan, the man with 2 first names.
The man with a stage name. I love it.
And that's it.
I was going to say something else. Yes, and you'll also be added to the latest group chat in Serie A history, as Jake said, and also to our fantasy league, where the winner will take home a free kit of their choice. If we can't deliver the kit to you, we'll send you the money and you can get the kit yourselves.
Absolutely, yes. Speaking of, we should probably mention our patron of the week.
Yes.
This week, our patron of the week is Matthias.
I'm really happy with this because I feel like Matthias, there are some that could be a patron of the week every week, and Matthias is one of them.
Yeah.
Because if we... Matthias gives me information I never thought I was looking for. But he comes in with such, and even he has such a way of speaking that is full of facts and statistics. It's so clearly broken down. Matthias, you could be our patron of the week every week. I absolutely adore your knowledge, but this time it wasn't for your knowledge on football, it was for that portal that you gave us that allows us to see the Serie A table match day to match day changing as the match days took place.
So Matt and I had literally discussed the previous day how helpful it would have been if we had something like this.
Yeah.
And we were sure it was out there, but we hadn't even looked yet, and the next thing we know is Alan is asking for the exact same thing on the group chat, because Alan always gets the assists on his Patreon.
Literally, Alan is always Mesut Alan.
Mesut Alan, literally. And then Matthias just linked it, transfer market, and
Alan Tavares.
Really
I was gonna keep going on with this. A Fanta update before we get into anything. Do you have it at hand, or shall we save it for the end?
Yes, I do, because if we save it for the end, we simply won't
do it. Yeah.
No, I have to log in.
Okay. Shall we save it for the end? Let's save it for the end. Guys, what are we going to do in this episode? Well, it's matchday 25. There are 14 match days left to go. As soon as you think you know what's going to happen this season, you're wrong. Everything changes. I feel like last season it was clear that Inter were running away with it. Just after January, Juve really fell off and Inter started to build that gap. The season before, it was Napoli all the way. The season before, it was tight between Milan and Inter. This season, it is still a 3-horse race. There are people that are discounting Atalanta, but it is absolutely a 3-horse race. I have a full breakdown of what took place this match day, so I will read that to you as a news bulletin, and then we'll go point by point and discuss each section of the league table. There were 2 absolute dynamo head-to-heads that took place this week, so we'll be covering those games in slightly more depth due to the title implications that come with them. But everything else, every team, every game, every week, Serie A spotlight. So we will do just that. Before that, you have the update. I'm seeing it.
It is Joey D, who's still in first place, of course. All Fabregas, no breaks.
Yes!
Yeah, and one name over here that stands out to me is Campbell's, who's in 7th place. Juan Bonerby.
Campbell. Nice. Campbell's like the Venezia. he's not quite relegation, but he always has the nicest kits without winning the league. Yeah. Shout out to Campbell. So, okay, let's start things off, brother. So, despite a disappointing draw to Lazio, Napoli have increased their gap at the top of the table over Inter. Napoli have been struggling of late with 3 draws in a row in their last 3 games and a devastating winter transfer market where they lost Kvaratskhelia and didn't replace him adequately, and now a capital gains scandal over ADL. More to come as we break these points down. The Nerazzurri collected their second loss in 3 games, this time in the Derby d'Italia against Juve. As a result, Juve have now entered the top 4, overtaking Lazio. Atalanta have once again failed to take advantage of the top 2's poor form after their heavily rotated side drew to Cagliari at home. Lookman and Gasperini had a public back and forth after Lookman missed his penalty against Club Brugge midweek. It is important to say that the heavily rotated side for Atalanta was to come back in the Champions League after their 2-1 deficit against Club Brugge, only to get smacked even harder by Club Brugge and draw 0-0 to Cagliari. However, they're still in the title picture, just 5 points behind the league leaders.
With over 40 points up for grabs.
Yep. Fiorentina lost out to Como after an impressive performance by Fabregas's men, Nico Paz and Diao. This marked the Tuscans' second loss in as many games. Milan took advantage with a narrow 1-0 win over Verona, and Bologna did the same in an entertaining 3-2 win over Torino, where Elmas scored on his debut, but Casadei gave away a penalty and Biraghi scored the decisive own goal. So, hey, their 3 new players contributed. It's important to say that Casadei has such a high ceiling and this doesn't define his career at all. Biraghi, he's on the older side.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of, it summarizes his season so far. Maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Non-convocado and then scoring own goals.
Yeah.
Milan and Bologna find themselves This is my favorite part of the table, not because I'm a Milan fan, but at the moment, man. Milan and Bologna find themselves level on points in 7th and 8th. 1 point behind Fiorentina and 5 behind Juve and Lazio. The winner of the game in hand between these 2 sides, which will be played on Wednesday the 26th of February, will jump Fiorentina and take a massive step into top 4 contention. This is obviously assuming that both Milan and Bologna will win their games over the weekend, which are no easy games. Roma continued their solid run with a narrow win over Parma, where Sule scored a magical free kick. That's them 9 games undefeated in Serie A, and Parma remain in 18th place and have sacked Pecchia for Kivu.
An interesting
decision,
because you look at Kivu's history and he has only ever coached
the Milan under 14s, bro.
The Inter youth team. Kivu.
Inter, was it? I thought it was Milan.
Of course. No, Kivu, Milan.
I know,
Crazy.
but because that never happens.
Yeah, but no, he coached.
But
at the youth levels especially. I believe he took the same group of players, right? That's an observation that Alan made, because he coached the Inter's under 14s all the way up to Inter's under 19s. So probably the same group of players, give or take, you know? Yeah. And now he has the Parma job. Crazy how ex-football players are the most underqualified employees in the world.
And man, it's the relegation teams that like taking some serious risks. Even Monza, when they got Bocchetti and now they went back to Nesta, these risks are just... I don't think you should be taking those risks when you're so low down the table.
They can't really... They don't really have the pull to attract bigger names.
Well, Parma are a bit more of a historical club, so I think that have more.
And they have actually quite wealthy owners as well.
And Monza are a new brand, owned by the Berlusconis.
I think there's a lack of investment when it comes to Monza nowadays. So a coach arriving, you can't quite promise him to give him what he would request. However,
Monza
Parma
could be doing more marketing-wise, I feel like their brand could really carry with Monza being one of the most historical F1 tracks. It could be this real, it's in the north of Italy. I feel like their marketing team could be doing a way better job. Let me finish this off. Udinese and Genoa both picked up wins against Empoli and Venezia, distancing themselves from the relegation conversation. Empoli continue their freefall, winless in their last 10 with 8 losses and 2 draws. Venezia remain one before the last. Nesta's first game back for Monza resulted in yet another failed opportunity in a 6-pointer as they drew 0-0 to Lecce and they remain in last place. I think there's only one place to start, brother, and that's the top of the table and the Derby d'Italia, I believe, right?
It was a super game of football, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. The first 10 minutes were kind of slow, very cautious, and then out of nowhere it just picked up, and it totally kicked off. I thought that Inter had a very strong first half. To which Juve managed to hold on. They had their own chances as well. They managed to kind of hit them again in the second half, where fatigue played a big part, in my opinion, in Inter's setup. And Juve actually managed to score and hold on to the lead and close out the game.
That's a bit of a theme for Inter I'm finding this season. It's every time we talk about Inter, when they drop points or they lose a game, it always seems to be a game of two halves, where they start strong and then the second half they start to drop off. Now, I'd say fatigue, but keep in mind that Inter played on a Monday this week and Juve played on a Tuesday. So it was Juve who should have been more fatigued. And if you look at the bench of Inter and you look at the bench of Juve, there's way more depth that Inter have. I just want to go through a little bit the substitutes that Inter had on the bench. Did I not prepare that? Let me jump into something else instead. Okay, no, here it is. So Inter's bench included Carlos Augusto, Zalewski, Thuram, Zielinski, Correa, Bissek, De Vrij, Darmian, Frattesi, Aslani, Arnautovic, which you would look at that and say, wow, they can make substitutions and actually get stronger by bringing on Thuram, okay, who was nowhere near full fitness, but Zalewski is a good little tool to bring on, Zielinski as well, Arnautovic and Correa can put in a shift. But it just seems like the two things. The in-game management of Inzaghi recently, I feel like his substitutions have not been up to par, and it always seems like he makes the same substitutions. I think this game, for example, could have seen Frattesi coming on and putting in a shift. I feel like they had something missing in midfield, that grinta and that eye for goal in midfield, which Frattesi would have done an excellent job over there. And B, Inter have the oldest squad in the entire league. So it makes sense that their second halves aren't as fruitful because these players get knackered, no?
Yes. So the average age is very important to mention. Many of these guys are on the older side, many important players. De Vrij, Acerbi, Mkhitaryan, they're all aging. You know, they're not getting any younger. Even Darmian isn't getting any younger. And in fact, he's not been utilized as much as he normally is.
He's definitely. I don't think he can play right wing back anymore, for example, especially with the physicality of Dumfries.
In the big games, probably not. The next thing is something that we always talk about, right? The substitute quality is very good. However, Inzaghi has one system, and these players, many of them, don't quite do what the starters do.
Yeah.
So if Çalhanoğlu, Barella or Mkhitaryan are tired, the players on the bench don't have the same qualities that they do. So that kind of gets Inzaghi thinking, should I risk rotating my players and my system not working? You know, and not to mention as well, this game he had Thuram on the bench who works excellently, but he's not fit. He looked unfit. He looked like he wasn't up for it, to be honest. Not to mention Lautaro having an absolute stinker this game as well, with so many moments where he could have taken another touch and instead he shot or he just missed a good chance or something like that. I think that's the problem. Juve's system, on the other hand, you know, the players who came on clearly knew what they do and they offered something totally different. Cambiaso came on and helped them build up from the back, for example. Locatelli came on and helped them maintain control. You know, everyone who came on kind of had their part to play and the system was tweaked slightly to suit the people coming in.
Exactly.
Inzaghi doesn't offer that. Inzaghi doesn't really have a plan B, does he?
Yeah, and one thing about Inter as well is I think that Inter, their movements, if you see them build play up, unless they're hitting you on a devastating counter-attack, I feel like their movement is very predictable. They always get the ball to crossing positions. They always get the ball like to an angle outside of the box, somewhere where Di Marco can whip it in, or someone on the right side can whip in a ball. You see the Juve players, when Inter are playing the ball forward, they're already stationed there predicting Inter's movement.
Yeah.
And Inter just go into that trap. Now, of course, if Inter manage to get the ball in, it's devastating. But I just feel like there's a bit of a repetitive nature that teams like Milan and Juve are starting to figure out a little bit. And the top 7 teams as well. The only team that haven't quite figured it out is Atalanta. Let me go through Inter's games against the top 7 teams this season so far. So far they played Atalanta once and they killed them 4-0. Against Milan, they lost 2-1 at home and drew 1-1 away. Against Juve, they have the 4-4 draw, which they were up 4-2 at a point, and now they have that 1-0 loss. Against Napoli, it was a 1-1 draw. Against Lazio, they won 6-0, so Lazio haven't quite figured that out yet. Against Fiorentina, they have a 3-0 loss at home and away, and a 2-1 win at home. In total, in these 8 matches, they have 3 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses with a 19-13 goal difference. And obviously, 6 of those 19 goals that they scored came in a single game against Lazio. Now, Inter, typically, what they did was they were excellent against the top 7 teams, and that's what won them the league. I feel like if you don't have a good record against the top 7 teams, can you win the league?
Inter, you can win the league if you don't have an excellent record, but it becomes very difficult because you're relying on external factors, right? You're relying on Venezia to pull off a crazy miracle against Napoli in their stadium, which isn't exactly ideal. But that is definitely a factor, and it's a sign that Inter this season have actually declined. And it's because of the aging squad, but also more than that, I think Inzaghi's system needs a plan
tweaking.
B. It needs tweaking. You can't just go into every game with the same approach, because you do that season after season. You can have 2 dominant seasons, 3 dominant seasons, but people are going to start figuring you out.
That's it. And if you bring on Zielinski to play in Çalhanoğlu's role, or you bring on Frattesi to play in Barella's role, or you bring on Zalewski to play in DeMarco's role, you're not utilizing these players to the best of their abilities. You're trying to make them something they're not. Now, it worked with Hakan, newfound position as a regista, but it's not going to work for everyone.
That's it.
You're not using players to the best of their advantage. I feel like a world-class coach should be able to do that.
You know what was really interesting coming into this game? That Inter and Juve have the 2 highest average possession kept per game.
That makes sense.
So Inter average 60% possession every game, while Juve hold 58% ball possession every single game.
God damn.
Now you look at this game, for example, and this is where, for example, Lazio have also been struggling this season, because Lazio are a team that like to hold the ball.
Yeah.
They try to do that against everyone. And you can't do that against everyone.
You do.
Right?
They tried to do it against Inter. They got
Juve this game, I feel like they surrendered possession. And they didn't play as they normally played, because they respected their opponent and they prepared for the game in front of them.
Yeah.
You can't just prepare an overdraft tactic and just apply it every single week. It doesn't work that way.
That's true. Shall we jump to Juve a little bit?
Sure.
I think that Juve, in the first half, they held back a little bit. They by no means were passive, but they definitely understood the assignment in the fact that there is a theme that Inter drop off a little bit in the second half. They typically tend to do most of their winning in the first half of the game. I feel like in the second half, they came out with a lot more directness, a lot more vertical play, going straight to goal, and catching Inter on the counter. They instantly started the second half with 2 great attempts, and there were 2 great saves by Sommer. In fact, they stretched Inter quite wide, exposing the gap behind DiMarco and behind Dumfries as well, especially with those 2 wingers, in Juve's team. Especially Conceição. They were really attacking those spaces in behind. But I think the difference in this game was Inzaghi's substitutions versus Motta's substitutions.
Yes, and it was... Okay, so Inzaghi and the substitutions obviously did play a a massive part in changing the game. But when you look at the efficiency of the players on the pitch, that was also a massive factor. Because Inter, in the first half, had 13 shots with only 2 of them on target. With Lautaro being extremely wayward. And not only him, sometimes I felt like it was Dumfries against the world in this game.
Yeah.
Dumfries, I tip my hat to Dumfries. Ever since I said what I said about Dumfries, he hasn't stopped, man. And he's looked like an animal, bro.
He's one of the top.
What a monster!
He's one of the top right wing backs in the world.
What a monster!
And you can't argue that.
What a monster! Honestly, he's a beast. He'll just knock the ball. Like again, the technique isn't exactly there.
No.
But if he takes a touch that's too heavy and the ball is going into 3 opponents, he's gonna make sure he clatters all of them on his way to get it.
Yeah.
But yes, my point was that 13 shots, 2 on target for Inter in the first half. In the second half, Juve didn't concede a single shot on target. And 5 of their 9 shots were on target in the second half.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like Cambiaso really changed the game.
Totally,
when he came on, his creativity and his fluidity, I guess is the word, man. Just he always has the right solution in mind. Now, he's made some mistakes, which are very uncharacteristic for him. He had an injury. There were the links to Man City as well. He's still a very young, talented player. One of the most raw, talented players I've seen coming up in the Italian ranks. He really made a difference over there. The way he plays inverted and kind of controls the tempo of the game was excellent. Of course, Muani has been an absolute fucking game changer.
He's my man of the match.
That assist was, I think, the best assist that there was this season so far, and there have been some great ones, but the way the ball was glued to his feet, he got that last touch.
I thought he lost it.
He was against me on Fanta, and I told you, shit, he got an assist. You told me, no, I think it went off a defender.
Yeah.
Nope, that was his leg,
Crazy.
That was his
Crazy
leg.
how he retained the ball there.
Bro, you have no idea you do have an idea how hard it is with those 3 Inter centre backs surrounding you, and there were 4 bodies around him, and just the way he toyed with them, shades of Xerxes for Bologna last season.
He came to life, man. It was extremely explosive. The way his body language totally changed. The way he moved, the way he spun. I didn't expect him to have that speed, that burst on the roulette,
in a tight space, bro.
It was a really good move, and Colomwani has been a real game changer for Juve this season.
A revelation. He's the missing piece. Yeah. It's exactly what they needed in their team. Hopefully it's not just beginner's luck. I don't think it is. It's a shame it's a dry loan.
I really hope Savona's okay, man.
What do you mean?
Savona, man. I'm really worried about him.
Why?
After what Dumfries did in this game.
It's true.
We haven't mentioned. He was the only player that stood out to me this game as really out of place or struggling. At least
he did play out of position. He played left back.
Yes, but he had a really tough time.
He did.
Really tough time. I think when it comes to the worst performers for Juve would probably be Savona. And for Inter, I would go as far as saying that Di Marco hasn't quite been himself lately.
Not at all. Not at all.
And Lautaro had a mare.
Yeah. I think the only player of Inter that I can't complain about, apart from, Dumfries and Barella. I thought Barella had a very good game. I think Bastoni, when it comes to going forward. Yes, great. And even defensively sound. His crosses, which was typically he was great at, I don't think he's really been landing them, bro.
That's been a theme, though. How many times did they get to the final third perfectly and they just lacked the ball into this game? Like that point with Bastoni, I feel the need to mention it because it was really good. He won a tackle against an opponent, knocked it forward and drove forward. He had 2 passing options. He went for the far post, and it was the type of cross that he would normally nail 9 times out of 10, and he totally overhit it.
Yeah,
and the striker couldn't get to it, of course.
I have 2 more players to highlight for Juve, and before I do that, I have to say this is the most this is the most Motta that Juve have looked this season. It's the most like shades of Bologna last season that they've looked, with Muani up top, but also at the back, the combination of Gatti and Vega was excellent. I think Gatti and Vega were impenetrable this game. There's a reason Inter weren't landing their crosses, and there's a reason that they only had 2 shots on target. Gatti and Vega are those reasons. incredibly solid at the back, and it gives you exactly what Motta had at Bologna, with one that's a bit more of a crusher at the back, and that's obviously Gatti, with size, speed, strength, aerial abilities, no nonsense fucking defender. Vega moving the ball forward and charging up, really, really strong, and he's replacing Kalulu directly in that role.
I really liked Vega. Other than his ability, which is clearly very, very good, he has these leadership qualities about him. He's very vocal. He doesn't stop talking. He's constantly instructing players, constantly clapping, very positive on the pitch. His energy is positive. You can tell the way he interacts with people, the way he handles moments. He's a very good teammate to have, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also retro hell. He's cool.
He's cool. He has that little fro, the mustache thing going on.
He's really cool.
Bob Ross vibes.
Yeah. He makes Juve look cool in that sense.
He does.
And Juve aren't completely out of anything, because they're 10 points behind the leaders in Napoli. And yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? It's tight. If these sides keep dropping points in Atalanta, Inter and Napoli, anything can happen this season. It's still very, very open. But I think we can jump to Lazio-Napoli, right?
Lazio-Napoli was a very well-prepared game, I thought. It was quite a tactical battle between Baroni and Conte. Of course, this was, I think, the third time they played each other this season.
And Napoli haven't won a single fucking game out of all of them.
Exactly. Mental.
Yeah.
So I thought that both managers tried to exploit the opponent's weakness, particularly. So Baroni focused on aggressive pressing, and he targeted Napoli's left flank with Mazzocchi and Juan Jesus both playing there, of course, and he targeted it through Isaacson. Guendouzi and Rovella took turns, of course, moving into attacking spaces, pulling McTominay and Anguissa out of position and opening central gaps. And this, in fact, did lead to Lazio's first 2 goals, both starting from Providel's passes and mistakes in Napoli's defensive sector. When it comes to Conte, he stuck to his man-to-man pressing strategy, similar to Gasperini's Atalanta, of course. However, they did struggle Napoli to move play from left to right, especially with the long balls over the top, and it limited their overall efficiency. After equalizing, they controlled Lazio's inside wingers, but struggled when Mazzocchi, who actually played decently considering he was being targeted this game, had to go off because he was exhausted. Politano came on. He played out of position. He became a weak link, and he eventually gave up the game. Because he led to Lazio's equalizer and the near winner.
And that's the thing. No, I mean, firstly, I have to commend Napoli and I have to commend Conte, because they almost fucking did it. They almost got away with another dirty win that they didn't deserve, and that's the whole team.
That own goal.
And bro, the own goal was ridiculous. Have you seen Conte celebrating? Randul Witch, we say in Maltese. He has the face. The audacity to celebrate the most ridiculous own goal I've ever seen in my life. But the thing is, so Napoli had to shift back to a 3-5-2. Why? Because of the amount of injuries they have and the shit transfer window that they had, where they just lost and just got absolutely railed in that market because ADL was incompetent. They had to shift to a 3-5-2 with Di Lorenzo playing right wing back, and at a point Politano was playing wing back as well. Raspadori got his first start since, I believe, September, if that's a statistic. It's less about their starting 11, even though it did include Mazzocchi and Juan Jesus and Raspadori, to be fair. But it is more about, at a point, Conte freaked out, and he audibly, the microphones picked him up saying to his assistant manager, "Who can I bring on, man? Who can I bring on?" Because there are no options. He made 2 substitutions. He brought on Politano and Marin. He couldn't make any other substitutions. I mean, look at their bench. I mean, there's Simeone, Ingonge, Billing, Contini, Scuffé, Hasa, Okafor, and Gilmore. Not fucking ideal at all, huh? Not ideal.
Not at all.
And to play in the 3-5-2, bro, there are few players. Now, do I think he could have taken out a midfielder and brought on Billing or Gilmore,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, deployable and they can. But otherwise, bro, look at the lack of defensive substitutions they can make. Look at the lack of that. Who would you bring on? There's no one you can bring on. Juan Jesus was on a yellow card. Rahmani made an error leading to a goal.
Marin, that's it. And the thing
That's
is, he hasn't played much. The squad is quite thin. The once a week thing works for them, and to be honest with you, the fact that it's the same players playing every week, the fact that they play once a week means that they can outrun their opponents by a significant amount.
Yeah.
And that is why, in fact, I think they did not lose this game. Because if you look at Napoli, they ran 121 kilometers this game, whereas Lazio ran 117 kilometers. That's a significant difference.
It is.
That's a lot in football.
That's
And
the
I think-
extra fucking 5% that every player puts in, like to get
Absolutely,
that loose
yes.
ball.
And I think the way that Conte has handled losing Gvara and Neres has been quite intelligent by introducing Raspadori. I think Raspadori needs to be there simply
I think-
because they don't have any creative players.
And he's using him in the right position,
As
up
a
top
secondary
with
striker.
Lukaku
The
as a
first time
second
since
striker.
Sassuolo.
And the first sequence that they had up front worked.
Yeah.
In fact, it was a perfect depiction of that. It's like the Lukaku Lautaro, that Lula combination where Lukaku uses his strength and tees up his teammates. So I think Conte did a good job. I think Conte has also been a good boy when it comes to not freaking out to the media yet, because they're first, and I think that'll change the second he's not first. I think he'll throw ADL under the bus. Before we get into what is happening with ADL at the moment, let's look at Lazio a little bit, because Lazio looked really, really good, and I think Lazio deserved to win this game.
They grew into it, definitely. Yeah.
They definitely have a liability, and this is the one real thing I want to drill home. Lazio need a better goalkeeper.
Man, this is getting ridiculous now, I think.
Provedel hasn't had... Well, I don't want to be extremist or sensationalist or whatever, but simply he's not playing well. He's not up to scratch. He's conceding a lot of avoidable goals. He's making a lot of avoidable errors. You do not give the ball away like that in a game against Napoli, the league leaders, especially in not a do or die, but you're looking to get fucking top 4, man.
And if you look around in the league, every team has crazy good goalkeepers, man. You look at the save
It's
Suzuki
Napoli and
made this
Lazio that
week.
don't have great
The
ones.
double save Suzuki made this week was sensational.
And not only, bro.
And even, for example, Genoa, man, their entire setup, for example, I think the heart and soul of their team right now is Leali. Honestly. and Torino, Vanja Milinkovic-Savic is so important to them as well.
And Verona with Montepò, Lecce with Falcone.
Exactly.
They both save them week in, week out. Now, Caprile at Cagliari. Now, to be fair to Lazio, I like their initial signing of Provedel from Spezia.
He was good
They
originally,
shopped local from a smaller team. It is like getting Montepò, it's like getting Falcone, it's like getting one of these guys. But this is unfortunately his ceiling. That's his ceiling. He's slightly error prone, and he's erratic. Unfortunately, I feel like he's constantly caught between two minds as a goalkeeper, and that's a really bad trait to have as a goalkeeper.
He's low on confidence.
That's why he's caught between two minds. Because when he's confident, he's super.
That's
and he
it.
scores last-minute goals.
And in fact, I was listening to a Lazio podcast, Lazio Lounge. Shout out.
We've
Absolutely
shouted them out before, and they deserve
Lazio
it
Lounge.
because they're excellent, man.
They're great, and
funny,
I love
man.
their chemistry as well.
Funny,
They're
yeah.
really funny.
Remind you of anyone? Sorry. Good chemistry.
Yeah, IFTV.
Shout out. They're also great. They're all good.
They were talking about, because one of them, Vittorio, I think. He goes to the game every week because he lives in Rome. He's Italian and everything. And he said that he was there with his son watching the goalkeepers warming up, and Provedel didn't hit a single pass. He didn't land a single pass in the warm-up. And that's usually Provedel's speciality. Like, his distribution is a big part of his game. So, clearly, that's a confidence issue, man, that in front of people, I'm sure in training he's managing these passes, or otherwise he wouldn't be starting.
Yeah.
So you get out into the stadium, everyone's looking, and you can't hit a single one in the warm-up.
Yeah.
And then the game starts, and normally these situations where you wouldn't find any difficulty, you're second guessing yourself and forcing yourself into a corner, essentially, with these mistakes.
Now, I empathize a lot with goalkeepers for that reason. I don't know if any of you know, but I myself am a bit of a goalkeeper. 5'8", yes, but I'm a spider.
You get taller every week.
I am 5'8", dog. I am 5'8".
You know who else is 5'8"?
Shut up! I know what you're gonna say.
Gasperini.
It's rubbish. He's fucking Sarah's height, bro. He's 5'3". God, you threw me off. Okay, I remember. Now again, super amateur, whatever. Football player and an anxious one at that. I think whether I was an outfield player or a goalkeeper, I always felt too much anxiety before a game. I felt like I wanted to throw up. Mm-hmm. But as a player and as a goalkeeper, it's completely different. I remember, bro, crying because I didn't want to go play a game of football, telling our dad like I can't. Because if I make a mistake, it's me. It's on me.
I don't know how they sleep at night, personally. Goalkeepers.
It's so much responsibility.
Because in reality, mistakes happen very regularly.
Yeah.
Players make mistakes. The best players, you know,
all
you
the
flick on a retro game and count the mistakes. Maldini, Del Piero, these guys.
Bro, you misplace a pass. Yeah. Players misplace passes.
Normal. It's normal. If you do it as a goalkeeper, your career might be ruined.
Yes,
Karius. That honestly, I can't even imagine what he felt, because I got traumatized watching it.
Bro, if it were the 70s, they would have shot him dead like after that game. He definitely wouldn't have married Diletta Leotta and impregnated her.
I'm happy that happened. I needed
that. Yes.
I needed that to be on worth that fucking...
Nah.
I'd let him 3.
He did. Gifted 2 of them. Yeah. But just to look at Lazio a little bit, Baroni has a way of utilizing his players, which is very different to what I said about Inzaghi earlier on. He knows how to utilize his players. He's got players like Dia, Noslin, Lazzari and Chauna that he brings on, and he plays them to the best of their abilities. They change system when these players come on. Look at how, and this is something I like that Milan were doing, but now they're doing it a bit less with the Fab Four. Leave some of the Fab Four. That's what they're fucking calling them, bro. It's weird. Leave some of the top players out. Rotate your top players. Leave something on the bench. It's a game of 90 minutes. And nowadays, with the tight, packed schedule, do not start all your weapons. Dia comes on, Dia scores. Noslin comes on, he gives them a completely different avenue. Chauna comes on and he's running at the defenders. Just really good. Like, I criticize Lazio for getting a lot of subpar people. Not subpar, but people that the level they were pursuing their careers at was low. So,
because they got Chauna from Salernitana,
Chauna, and even Baroni. Exactly.
Yeah.
But fuck me, does he know how to utilize these players?
He's a fantastic manager, a great tactician, very offensive mindset, and sometimes we criticize him for taking the same offensive approach to different teams. However, this game was a very well, I think, thought out game and well planned game from Baroni to focus on Napoli's clear weakness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Have to say as well, Dia respect. He's ending the Scudetto party for Napoli
again.
He had done it at Salernitana, of course, when that game, Napoli were so ready to win the league that when they scored their goal, an earthquake was recorded.
Yes, bro.
And then Dia equalized and ruined the party.
Exactly.
And now he's done it.
That's
again,
a derby,
of course, yeah.
Napoli Salernitana.
Of course. Derby del Sud, what is it? No, Derby, I'm not sure what the name is, but yeah.
No, Derby di Campania.
The Campania, maybe.
Campania, I think. Yeah, wherever they are, both of them.
Yes, I think that Simeone maybe for Napoli could be getting a little bit more game time is what one point that I wanted to discuss with you, bro, because honestly Lukaku's great on the ball, but sometimes you just need a different solution, a different profile, and Simeone looks deployable to me.
He does look deployable.
I'm surprised he doesn't bring him on.
I don't know if Conte's his biggest fan.
You'd think he would be.
Because he has grinta.
Yeah.
But I think I agree. You've got 3 strikers like that. You'd utilize them, right? I just think that with the way he wants to play, Lukaku's pivotal, and he made it clear the second he arrived. It's like, Lukaku, please, thank you. And Lukaku was chuffed because pretty much no one else wanted him. I think it's only fair to mention the Zaccagni disallowed goal, and just to praise Zaccagni for the player he continues to be. He peaked quite late in his career. I was surprised to find out he was 27 at Hellas Verona. I'm fuck, I thought he was younger than that. And then he got his big move to Lazio, and he hasn't slowed down. He's 30 years old, but
this is one of his best seasons, I think, when it comes to output.
And he was good for Italy in the Euros, where he got that late goal as well. I do think he's deployable in the Italy team, even if they play a 3-5-2 with 2 strikers up top. I think if they shift that to a 3-4-2-1, a 3-4-3, a 4-3-3, whatever, you could really bring on Zaccagni, because when teams get tired, his turn of pace, bro, is really, really impressive. He's not the fastest, but he turns a player with... If he knocks the ball past a player, he's probably past him.
How do you say cattiveria in English?
Cattiveria, cruelty,
but it doesn't translate.
It doesn't exactly.
Yeah, but that's how he plays. He plays with a certain.
Yes, bro.
A certain burning fire. I don't know how to explain it.
It's like this assholishness about him.
Yeah, arrogance almost, but in a positive way. 7 goals, 6 assists in the league this season. Yeah, he's doing really well. And I'm sure he has great numbers in the Europa League as well. Let's take a look. 2 goals and 1 assist in the Europa League.
Is he Lazio star man?
Of course he is. Yes. And 1 assist in the Coppa Italia as well.
Amazing. Shall we jump to... Oh, no, sorry. Capital gains scandal.
Yes. I can break it down. So yes, prosecutors have requested the indictment of Napoli owner Aurelio De Laurentiis, who has been accused of false accounting in relation to transfers involving Victor Osimhen and Kostas Manolas. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast since the early days, this is something that we've often mentioned, right? That Osimhen deal, because the Osimhen deal was a 70 million euro deal. And 20 million of that 70 million, I believe, were added up through 4
over and above the 70 million.
Over and above. It could be. I'm not sure if it's including or over and above, but basically 4 players were valued at 20 million, moving from Napoli to Lille. These were Ciro Palmieri, Orestes Karansis, Luigi Liguori, and Claudio Manzi. Now, you're probably wondering, who the hell are these guys? Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way they add up 20 million.
They don't add up 20 million. And the thing is, some of them never even apparently stepped foot in Lille, and they're playing at the lower divisions in Italy. Pretty much all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
So you might be wondering, why would Lille accept this? Why would, like, I understand why Napoli would want to, throw these guys in to improve the value of the offer. Lille were in a very poor financial situation, and this would have looked good on their books, and it would have looked good if they had to take a loan, because they can take it into consideration as profit, right?
Yeah.
Or if they want investors or something like that, they've got this nice green number that isn't really there.
And
right?
with these spending caps based on how much money you receive, obviously you can spend the profits and whatever. It allows them to spend more and take loans and from under the table and spend them accordingly. My question mark is, so how likely is it that Napoli and De Laurentiis will be prosecuted or penalized as a result of this? We saw a very, very similar capital gains scandal with Juve, and Juve's defense, which worked, was the value of a player is incredibly subjective. If Milan wanted to buy a top striker because they really needed him versus Juve needing a backup striker and they're going for the same striker Milan are going for, that's a 50 million striker for Milan and it's a 30 million striker for Juve.
Exactly.
So there's a massive subjective nature. I might view a player in a higher regard than Jake, therefore I'm willing to spend more than Jake. So there is that the court can't say that these players aren't worth 20 million. But the only difference is that they never played, and some of them never even stepped foot in Lille. So I'm sure there's a lot more.
And now they're all playing in lower division. So there is evidence that these guys were overvalued. However, it's very difficult to prove. And I believe in Juve's case, the verdict had been reached because of some wiretapped conversations, right? There were some wiretapped.
I don't know. But they didn't get penalized. They didn't get penalized for capital.
Wasn't there a points deduction for it?
No, they got a points deduction for the when they were paying players during COVID, undeclared wages. I don't think they got a points deduction for capital gains.
Basically, the conclusion to this is it's very difficult to prove that the value of the players has been inflated. And we will keep a close eye on it. And I'm sure right now there are investigations taking place, and we will see how they progress and develop.
Yeah, we'll take it from there. I just want to confirm that if Juve were penalised for capital gains, because I believe it was a totally separate case that they were.
It could be right now. I can't quite remember. Juve went through a lot that season.
They did go through a lot, and it's all very
a blur right now.
Yeah, it's all very cloudy. But the point is. No, for capital gains they didn't, due to the subjective nature. That's how it had ended, and then there were the COVID money installments after Ronaldo and all that. But for the capital gains, they hadn't faced anything. I remember that quite clearly. So how likely is it it'll happen to Napoli? They'll definitely be using Juve's verdict to their advantage. Shall we jump to Atalanta Cagliari?
Yes, let's do so.
So 0-0, disappointing result, obviously, for Atalanta, and a great result for Cagliari. Now, I want to read out the starting 11 that Atalanta went with for this game. Now, keep in mind, Napoli dropped points, Inter dropped points, and Atalanta are there in third. But clearly, their focus is Champions League, because they started in a 3-4-2-1 formation with Carnesecchi in goal, Toloi, Hien, and Posh at the back, with Ruggeri on the left and Quadrado on the right. Double pivot, this is where it starts getting weird. Double pivot of Pasalic and Sulemana, with Brescianini and Samardzic flanking Retegui, and Retegui was subbed out very early on in the game for Vlahovic, who had never scored for the club, I believe. So it was almost like they didn't want to win the game, whilst Cagliari had that very condensed 4-5-1 formation with industrious players like Zortea and Felici out wide, and a strong midfield of Adopo, Makumbu and Deola. So those two midfielders in Pasalic and Sulemana against Adopo, Makumbu and Deola must have been quite a humbling experience. What do you think of their decision to rest their players now to gain in the Champions League? Obviously, in hindsight, they lost to Bruges, so it's obviously a bad idea. But I personally thought it was a bad idea from the get-go.
It's bizarre to me, and I can't help but feel like it's almost a personal objective. Almost this decision, maybe by Gasperini, maybe wanting to do well in the Champions League more than to win the Italian league. I guess because I can't see the logic. You have Napoli and Inter who are showing their limitations week in, week out. They're showing that they can be overtaken. You have Atalanta right now whose squad wasn't really revitalized, wasn't really strengthened enough to compete on all fronts, I feel like. And they have Scamacca and Scalvini who are out for the rest of the season most likely. So why would they I don't know why they wouldn't just focus primarily on the league. The Bruges game was the first game was already a loss, you know what I mean? I mean, sure, you're going to want to make up for it in the second leg, but you don't throw away a game against Cagliari at home. When you have so many players who can do a job for you over there, they don't even play, and pulling out the top scorer of the league in the 50th whatever minute it was. I couldn't understand in the 56th minute. I couldn't understand it. It's like they gave up. It's like in the 56th minute, they said, you know what? Palestra, Vlahovic, you're on. We'll take the point and see you in Bruges.
I found it bizarre. First, I just want to go back because I dug a bit, and Juve did get docked points.
They were docked points.
They were docked points for the Plusvalenza scandal. Along with other scandals that they had, such as the under the money payments during COVID, the subjective nature of the capital gains transfers resulted in a reduction of points. And so instead of 15 points, they reduced like 8 or something like that.
I think the money under the table thing resulted in something else.
Yeah, it could be.
Whatever. I can't quite remember
We're
right
here
now.
to talk about the football.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you. I think Atalanta find themselves in a position that they've never found themselves in before. The ability to fight for the title. They're in third place. They're within 5 points reach of the league leaders with over 40 points left to play for. They have the top scorer of the league in Retegui. He can't stop fucking scoring. They have the likes of Lookman and CDK in the form of their lives. They've got Ederson, who's an absolute tank. They have it all. They can
Zappa
fight.
Costa and Bellanova unutilized.
Yeah.
Against, and then this is what I don't understand. So Cuadrado started against Cagliari, and then he started in the game against Bruges as well.
Even
What?
I noticed Madonna. Even
Madonna.
Sorry, I lost my notes.
It's okay.
Even yes, Quadra. Even Toloi.
Toloi as well.
Toloi, because
Bizarre.
he freaked out. At
He
the
had
end,
a funny moment. Toloi. We're gonna post a meme, but we need to find
We're
the perfect
thinking
caption
of the
first.
fucking
We think, you know
caption.
that moment where he's scrambling and he throws the ball and he chases down the
threw
player.
the ball. He tried to throw the ball
Yeah,
twice and he
failed.
didn't manage.
We need a caption for that meme, basically.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
So they find themselves in this position where they can win the league. They can go all the way and they can do it. I don't know why everyone's discounting them so much. They can. It is the closest they've ever been, and they can run with it.
Yeah.
Why are they so hyper fixated on Europe? Now they dropped points to Cagliari. Had they won that game, they'd only be 3 points behind the league leaders, Napoli. They'd be right fucking there. And they'd be out of the Champions League, the same way they're out of the Champions League now. Really, really bizarre decision in my eyes to go with such a pragmatic approach against Cagliari at home, and they didn't even have to travel to Bruges. They were playing at home as well. They could have really fielded a more balanced 11. I'm not saying they should have started all of their weapons, but Pasalic and Sulemana can't play in a pivot, in my opinion. Pasalic isn't a player that you play in a pivot. If you want to dominate midfield, he'll get run over. It was basically Sulemana on his own over there.
A totally bizarre decision, but now they're out, so they have no choice but to focus on the league, which will benefit them, I think, this season.
Yeah, and they're only one competition because they got knocked out of the Coppa Italia as well, thanks to Bologna. So Atalanta have that Napoli advantage now as well, so it is going to get even more exciting. And Inter, they're in all the competitions, which is mental.
Yep.
Lookman versus Gasperini. So in case you guys didn't see, Atalanta were down to Bruges and Lookman won a penalty.
They were 3-1 at the
They were 3-1 down and they won a penalty, and that could have made them 3-2, and they would have just needed 2 more goals to get level on aggregate. Lookman, who is not the designated penalty taker, took the penalty and he missed it. After the game, Gasperini came out and said, I don't know why he took it. He's one of the worst penalty takers I've ever seen, and I'm really not happy that he took the decision to take it. After he said that publicly, I see you have the screenshot right now. So Lookman posted an Instagram story and a statement which went like this.
Listen to this, guys. He said, "It saddens me on a day like this to have to write this statement, most of all because of what we have achieved together as a team and as a city. Being singled out in the manner I have been not only hurts but feels deeply disrespectful, not least because of the immense hard work and commitment I have always put in each and every day to help bring success to this club and to the incredible fans of Bergamo."
Except when he was trying to force a move to Paris Saint-Germain.
Exactly, leaving them without him at the start of the season.
Yeah.
It continues. "In truth, I have dealt with many difficult moments during my time here, the majority of which I have never spoken about because in my opinion the team must always be protected and must always come first.
Fair.
This makes what happened last night even more hurtful. Along with our incredible fans, we as a team are hurting too with last night's results. During the match, the designated penalty taker instructed me to take the penalty, and to support the team, I took responsibility in the moment to do so. Life's about challenges and turning pain into power, which I'll continue to do."
He makes good points. I can empathize with him from the way that he wrote that. He wrote it from the heart. But I have a question for him. does he believe that the designated penalty taker has higher authority than the manager?
If the designated penalty taker asked you to jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff? Adamola. You know, if in second place you have the Keita who takes penalties.
Why is he taking it?
Why is he taking it?
When
he told you.
And
it's the coach's instruction that matters.
Exactly. And I dislike it when players take... I've never, again, been a professional footballer. They must have felt a sense, okay, look, man, you want it, you have to take it. You have that grinta, you're composed. I don't know what they feel that I can't really see from not being in that scene. But from a spectator's point of view, I've seen Milan struggle with a designated penalty taker for the past 2-3 seasons. Honestly, there was Giroud last year who was who ended up being the designated penalty taker. But we've seen Milan miss penalty after penalty after penalty. In my eyes, there should be a designated penalty taker. If for some reason that designated penalty taker can't step up or isn't feeling it, sure, man, if you're not feeling it, go tell the manager or give it to the secondary penalty taker, but always consult with the manager. He makes the decisions. Yeah. Every single player has a role. That is that player's role to fulfill.
How does the player on your team that you deem to be the worst penalty taker you've ever seen in your life end up taking a penalty for your team? That's bizarre. I mean, if you're Gasperini at that moment and you see Lookman teeing it up, I mean, I'm sure at that moment it's a little bit hard because you don't want to make a scene in front of everyone by shouting, but get your point across. If you genuinely believe that Lookman is the worst penalty taker you've ever seen, stop him from taking the penalty as well. You should never say that.
What does that do? What does that? No. Gasperini is very old school. He's very old school and he's very wrong for singling him out. What it should have been, instead of saying he's the worst penalty taker I've ever seen, is we have a designated penalty taker. For some reason, the team thought that their feeling was superior to my instructions. They went on with it and it failed. I instruct the team to listen to me more clearly because I'm the manager. He could have said that in a very stern and clear way. But what he did was, yes, Lookman is right to feel a certain way because he said he embarrassed Lookman. He embarrassed him. This is the worst penalty taker I've ever seen in my life, and he took the penalty, and we lost because of him.
You conceded 5 to Club Brugge. That's not the problem. Lookman isn't the problem.
Exactly, exactly. So I see both sides.
But I'm sure there is a little bit of pent up, maybe frustration or resentment with the fact that Lookman tried to force his way out after.
Oh, he's out now.
Yeah, and the fact that nowadays. Lookman does try to take certain moments into his own hands in certain games simply because, of course, he had that game in the Europa League that kind of elevated him to the next level, and it's hard to not let that go to your head when it comes to confidence.
Absolutely. And we spoke about this at length off the pod. That players feel like they are owed something from the club, especially if they've been there a while. Sometimes that doesn't translate well when there's been a change in manager and the manager doesn't see your full value even though you are a loyal servant to the club. That's not the case, obviously, with the Lookman thing right now because it's been his time there has been with Gasperini all the time. But I think as much as he is owed something, I think there's clear instruction in football, and the manager is there for a reason, and you have to do as the manager says because the manager is he's the chess master. And Gasperini, bless him, he makes a lot of right decisions. So I think that would have been one of them at least would be the designated penalty taker. Mignolet is good at saves. He's good at saving penalties. In his debut for Liverpool, he had a double save against Stoke, was it? It was insane. He spoke about it on a podcast recently. The adrenaline must have been mental. Mignolet, yes. He was with, you remember at Liverpool, the Belgian goalkeeper.
Blast from the past.
Yeah. So, brother, we are 1 hour and almost 10 minutes in. I think we should
time to spend 50 minutes crying.
Well, Bologna, Milan, Fiorentina, who are just outside or around that battle for Europe at the moment.
Can we just get Milan out of the way?
Let's get Milan out of the way, sure.
Okay, so Milan in the league beat Verona. It took a Jimenez goal in the 75th minute. It was a very dominant performance over Hellas Verona, who didn't really look dangerous at any moments. I think 74% ball possession for Milan. I think when it comes to goalkeeping saves, Magnan had 2 saves and they weren't really anything crazy to write home about. So yes, Verona looked really limited, and of course Milan took advantage of a lapse in defensive organization. And that took Milan on to the Champions League game. I think the approach leading up to the Champions League game was very good. I think that Conceição made it a point so that every starter that will be playing against Feyenoord wouldn't have played more than 45 minutes this game, and that goes for everyone. He rotated really well. He took Walker out after 45 minutes. He rested everyone. Sotil started, Musa started on the right. I think the preparation for the game was good. And then the game started, and 40 seconds in, Milan score.
Fantastic. Level pegging at the San Siro.
Yes, exactly. Level
with 90 minutes to go.
Exactly. And Milan in the first half they had Feyenoord pegged back.
Yeah.
This attack after attack after attack, and it was only a matter of time until Milan were to score again. And everyone felt it coming. The commentator, the way he was speaking, was hinting at it. Milan were so confident in their play. Feyenoord really couldn't hit back. They were trying to hit back on the counter, but they were missing many important players. Paixão was playing as a striker where he wasn't really finding much luck.
10 injuries they had.
10 injuries, yes.
And a brand new coach that's only been there for a week.
And then, of course, because Milan are a bunch of assholes. A bunch of assholes, Milan are.
Sorry, but assholes and low IQ. Low IQ.
Theo Hernandez gets booked first for randomly pulling a player's shirt. He wasn't even about to break or to be one-on-one. It wasn't a Chiellini on Saka moment. He just pulled his shirt in the middle. I think they had a back and forth, him and the player. It was that Hajj.
Yes, and at that point they pushed each other.
Yeah, they had the thing. So it was literally, I think, to try to get under his skin. And he got an instant yellow card. I'm like, okay. And then next thing we know, Theo is diving in their box on a yellow card. And the referee's interpretation of the rule is to send him off, of course, which is something we don't see consistently. However, I think Theo, with the way he was conducting himself this game, almost had the referee waiting for a moment to give him a second yellow, because he was just being
a yellow card. That's exactly what a yellow card means.
Yeah.
If you do it again, you're out.
Yeah.
That's what a yellow card means. Yeah. And he had a yellow card, and he tried
many
to
referees wouldn't have given a second yellow for that.
A lot of referees wouldn't have, but it was a clear dive.
Yeah. It was a dive. In theory,
there was
by
no
correct
contact.
Yes.
There was no. Did Theo scream and wave his hands and cry for a penalty? No. So it's. Yeah, it is harsh, but in hindsight, it's stupid. He saw what kind of performance the referee was having and the way he was conducting himself. And this happened in the Feyenoord game, and this happened in the Dinamo Zagreb game with Musa, another stupid red card.
That's the thing, right? If this was an isolated incident, fuck it. Milan were unlucky. But the fact that these individual errors, these lapses in professionalism from Milan's leaders has cost them a lot of points. You look at Gabbia's slip. That was a mistake. You look at Manjan's mistake in the reverse fixture. That was a mistake. Musa's red card that eventually led to Milan having to play this game was a massive mistake. Just a bunch of individual errors. And what I see on the pitch, what I saw on the pitch, Milan were the much better side.
Yeah.
And they were well drilled and well coached. And it's a real shame that Milan went out this game because of one stupid mistake, and it's exhausting. And I do feel like this is the last season we'll be seeing Theo at Milan, because I think so. Because the season is almost it's inexcusable at this point.
And I have to say, because Theo, yes, there's also a lot of other pain points from certain individuals in this team. Leao is the classic. He's either insane or he can't seem to get anything right, and there's that.
He was excellent
level of inconsistency. Was he excellent
against Feyenoord? That first.
Well, he had a couple of moves that were great.
He was totally destroying the player. Then at
excellent
the end,
is very strong, because he I think there were 3 super wayward crosses he gave. At a point he shot from distance and it went to the curva.
When it comes to his duels and just creating opportunities, bro, he was. Granted, his output isn't always amazing, Leao, but he just gives you a different dynamic. And now with the set of players that Milan have, it's even more effective, I think.
But you know what I mean? There are just some moments
that
where...
At the end, in the 94th minute, with 5 minutes of added time given, he had the moment to whip a ball in and he overhit it and it went out for a goal.
Not only that, there were more misplaced crosses. I thought Felix as much as he was also very good, much like Leao, I think Felix has this Theo syndrome where he simulates a lot. Felix, he goes to ground a lot and all the time. And there are some moments where either be more convincing or stay up and shoot, man. There are a lot of times he dives for nothing. The one player, well, I'm gonna commend 3 players. 4, actually. Jimenez, good. Grinta, I think he still looks a bit unfit.
He tired out.
He tired out
60, 70 minutes in, he looked knackered.
But he got the early goal. He was good. Pulisic for his work ethic throughout the game and the amount of good decisions he makes consistently.
To be subbed off.
But great decisions overall by Pulisic. And the 2 centre backs. Chow had a very good game and he got an assist. And Pavlovic was man of the match for me.
I absolutely love Pavlovic, and this game once again he was the only one trying at the end.
He was striker at the end.
Yeah, he was playing striker at the end. However, I do feel like it was his man on the goal. Because the player drifted away from him, and in the replay you see Bartazaghi next to him, but that wasn't Bartazaghi's man, that was Pavlovic's man. And he moved away from him. But you know what, man? At that point, this guy is running up and down tirelessly. You can't help but feel for him.
Yeah,
and that's it.
But you're probably right there.
Yeah. So that's our Milan rant right now. So the objective of the season perhaps is to win the Coppa Italia, right? To try to qualify for top 4. You can imagine.
Italia,
yesterday,
man.
I was a shell of a man after the game. And Sarah was like, shall we watch the new White Lotus? I'm like, yes, please put it on. I couldn't even sit still for a bit, so I had to take a walk around the kitchen island. And then I sat down, and eventually we flicked on White Lotus. I opened my SofaScore app to see what Atalanta were doing for the coefficient, to see if maybe Milan finish 5th, they can still get Champions League, because of course right now the coefficient spot, England have practically confirmed that 5th spot, and La Liga and Serie A are going head to head, neck and neck, and Italy need all the wins they can get. So Milan failed to beat Feyenoord. I opened the app and I see that fucking Club Brugge are destroying Atalanta 3-0. And
I watched both the games, and then I did so many chores. I was so pissed off, man. When you do chores pissed off, like taking down the clothes from the line, just pissed off, doing the dishes with that Grinta, you're changing the litter. Man, that was at least my girlfriend was very pleased. And so that's Milan, but Milan do find themselves in a battle right now directly with Bologna, because they are tied on points, and there's that game upcoming, which is very telling. Now Bologna have to face Parma away and Milan have to face Torino away. Bologna play a team with a brand new manager and a lot of fierce players and what's the word? Explosive players, especially explosive on the counter, and Bologna do tend to get into scrap sometimes, although they are very solid defensively. Milan play Torino away. Milan drew to Torino home in the first game of the season, actually. But
wasn't Parma the first game?
No, Parma was second, I believe. I believe Torino were down 2-0 and then Morata scored. Then the second game was Parma. Like, at least now there's a win over Parma. And we lost. And then after that, they go head to head. So that is going to be an incredible game that's taking place on the 26th, the day before my birthday. So that is going to be exciting.
I think Bologna look very good, and they're only getting better, because now Ferguson is back, for example. He's back in the group, he's training. They have lost Holm to injury, which is a massive loss, because despite his mistake against Torino where he failed to clear the ball, he's so lively. And he stood out. One of our patrons was at the game, and he stood out to him as well, because if you really watch Holm's performances, man, he's tireless, he's strong, he's quite good with the ball at his feet as well.
Oh god, that screams a Calabria start.
That is Calabria and De Silvestri competing for that spot, and I think Calabria will probably get it, right?
If not, he'll feature, definitely.
They've been playing a 4-2-3-1 formation. Of course, Freuler and Moro played in the pivot against Torino, for example, and it was Pobega playing as an advanced playmaker.
He won a penalty, Pobega. He did great.
He was really good. Ndoye and Dominguez are playing on the flanks. Ndoye made the episode cover art. He's been super. Dominguez has been, once again, revelation.
Orsolini coming into fitness,
Orsolini slowly coming back. Castro and Dallinga both competing and both have something to give. This Bologna side is serious. Not to mention as well, man, that defender, his name escapes me right now. That centre back can really play the ball, and he's pivotal.
The centre back.
Beukema is a very good centre back. So this whole battle between Bologna and Milan is going to be something that I'll think about a lot in the coming weeks, especially leading up to that game in hand. I wonder how that will go.
Yeah, it is the game in hand. That game in hand is going to be eradicated. It's going to be
very telling.
And for one of those teams, if hopefully there's a winner in that game, and that winner will just be 2 points behind the top 4 spots. So that is incredibly exciting. And I do think Bologna, funny enough, from last season, they are getting better, in my opinion, because for you to change manager, lose 2 star players, and still be battling Europe, especially for a team like Bologna that had pretty much never battled Europe within the last decade. Excellent stuff. Yes. What a football team.
They're well run.
I really want to go to their stadium soon as well.
Fiorentina, I don't know if you wanted to move on to...
I was just going to say of Torino, just to remind people that Elmas did score a brilliant goal. Casadei conceded the penalty, and Biraghi scored an own goal.
The Holy Trinity, that is.
Yeah.
Then we have Fiorentina, the other outliers. They lost to Como.
It was a great result for both Milan and Bologna.
And for Como.
Shut
up. That down there, you win a game.
They skipped 3 or 4 teams. It's crazy.
It's crazy down there.
It's crazy down there.
Moiskin was suspended for this one, and they really felt it, to be honest. Palladino experimented with Zaniolo and Fagioli from the start, both of whom were ineffective.
Zaniolo punta, man.
Yeah, false 9. Like
I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Especially a Beltran, who's a natural striker. And or Goodmanson that can play there. I found it odd that Zaniolo,
it was
right in the
definitely
thick
weird.
of its striker.
Hey, from the start, two players deployed from the get-go.
From the start.
Mandragora and Cataldi were playing in the pivot with Fagioli right in front of them, then Zaniolo as the false 9. They struggled to create meaningful attacks. Their build-up play was stifled time after time by Como's pressing. And their pressing in the second half was wayward. They didn't manage to press effectively, and Como played out of their press very easily, and it led to super fast counter-attacks. And Como look very dangerous right
the
now.
Press masters.
They set up in a 4-3-3 nowadays. Diao plays as a false 9, supported by Strefezza and Paz.
Yeah.
Incredible football. Like, you see these guys playing, it's so entertaining.
Yeah.
Kakere plays a crucial role nowadays in maintaining and controlling the tempo, and Perrone and Acuna do the dirty work for him, kind of, while he just moves the ball around. Their counterattacks are super precise and
vertical.
Vertical, very direct.
No bullshit.
And they have some options off the bench as well, man. With Fadera, for example, who I really like, and he actually can be deployed.
He was suspended for this one, Fadera, but otherwise, I believe he would have been right there.
Probably.
They're super frustrating to play against because they press you to oblivion, and they're really good at pressing and winning the ball high up the pitch. And then they themselves are super press resistant. Like Kakere was such a good addition, and I feel like every player they have is capable of playing the ball around. And they're just frustrating because their average height, they have small, nimble players. It's like you've got you're playing against a bunch of talented kids who are just moving the ball around you, and you can't keep up with them, and they're going straight for your throat, man. They're just
Como Udinese would be like Japan, Senegal. Remember that game?
Yes, bro.
Where the average height and just the appearance of players was so different.
Bizarre.
That was one of my favorite World Cup games. That one.
Really?
Senegal, Japan. I think the score was 2-2.
Could be. I don't remember it. I don't remember it.
Was really
Give me a World Cup. How was this? And Como are in the midst of their deadly spell of games. So this win, the fact that they managed to get 3 points out of it was huge, and you saw what it did to their position in the table. And this is just to go through what their last few games looked like. I believe this is their like past 10 or 12 games. So they played Roma and they beat them 2-0. They played Inter and they lost 2-0. They played Lecce and they won 2-0. And then they drew 1-1 to Lazio. and then they lost 2-1 to Milan, and Milan came back from behind, and then they beat Udinese 4-1, and then they narrowly lost to Atalanta, and then they lost to Bologna, and then they lost at home to Juve. Look at these games in a row, man. Now they beat Fiorentina, next they play Napoli, after that they play Roma, and then they take a bit of a breather by playing Venezia, and right after that it's Milan at the San Siro. After that, their games are much more mellow.
Yes.
So they can really build up the table and potentially attempt to break into the top 10 as the other teams are battling for relegation later on in the season.
They never lost by more than 2 goals. And I think they scored in every game except 2 of them. No, except 1 of them, I think. No, against Inter they didn't score.
They didn't score
and against
Inter
Bologna.
And against Bologna.
But the rest they scored in all of them.
Against the top teams, right?
Como are a force to be reckoned with.
Brilliant scouting network, the players that they bring in as well. I don't know how involved Fabregas is over there when it comes to bringing in the right players.
I'm sure he's very involved. He's a shareholder as well.
Fuck me. Do they bring in good players, man? Like players like Diao and Kakere, who I had never heard of before, even the likes of Fadera and these guys, man. And those Barca guys that they brought in as well for that football expertise.
Duvikas as well as a smart signing, for example. By the way, man, I was really excited to watch the 2 strikers of Venezia and Monza, and they both disappointed me so much, bro. They were both so shit, bro. I know it was their first game, but oh my god, they were painful to watch. The Monza one, his name escapes me once again. Everything's escaping me today. What's his bloody name?
The only thing not escaping you is dementia.
Yes, Ganvula, dude.
Ganvula.
Wow, how bad he was.
Yeah.
Ganvula and Fila for Venezia. I think every touch was heavy.
Fila. What a brand.
What a brand, right? They should have signed Adidas.
I really feel as an overrated brand.
Really? No, I like Fila.
I like their tracksuits, but their shoes I never really fucked with. Shall we jump to Roma? Because they're doing something special at the moment. Are you ready to move on to Roma?
I am, yeah.
Okay. You seem indifferent. 9 games undefeated for Roma. Obviously, this was a narrow 1-0 win over Parma. The straw that broke Pecchia. But 9 games undefeated in a row, and in the last 5 games they got 13 points. That puts them top of the league in the top 5 football leagues if the league was these last 5 matches long. They have a Dybala injury at the moment, but Ranieri does hope that Dybala will be fit for the return leg of the Europa League knockout playoff against Porto, which is tomorrow. Where in the previous fixture, the Giallorossi collected a 1-1 draw in the opening tie last Thursday. Cesco had some nice things to say about Ranieri, and I just want to read them out. So Ranieri came out of retirement. He had 3 straight wins in the league, 3 straight away wins in the league after a 9-month drought, 2 months unbeaten in the league. He criticized the Roma board and said whatever the fuck he feels like, which is an important thing to have in a manager within obviously limits, going after the Lega and UEFA establishment in Mourinho style. But I feel like Ranieri can get away with these things because he's a nice man. He won the derby, and most importantly, the players and the fans alike are smiling again. This is my question for you. If you got the chance, Ranieri tells you I'll stay for another season or 2 if you want, would you keep Ranieri, or would you try to start to rebuild something new now with a new manager?
That's a great question. I think that you have Ranieri, it's always going to be kind of like, if you extend him for another year, that's that, like.
Yeah.
Right? He's on a great run, of course. The players seem to have responded really well to him. However, I do think that it's time to kind of really go for a manager that you can build a project around, you know. I think that every single game, Ranieri is kind of achieving new things. Like for example, this game, he rotated the squad heavily and still managed the victory. Granted, the red card didn't help Parma at all, because they got a red card and they scored immediately from the free kick, which is a nightmare.
Hilarious.
But this game, he managed to get Soule some confidence, which is a massive thing because he hadn't been doing anything. I think that if I were in charge of Roma, If there was a better profile, I would pounce.
You know why? You know why I agree with you? It's I feel like Roma were quick to make a decision on De Rossi, even though I don't think they should have sacked De Rossi in the second place. But they saw that he did well for half a season after Mourinho, and they offered him a contract, and then they went back on their word immediately after 8 games in the league or 7 games in the league, whatever it was. If they extend Ranieri and then they go through a little shitty spell, does that mean they're going to let him go as well? So just in order to A, avoid the mistakes they've made in the past, but more importantly, B, is you have to try start the project as early as possible. You've got this maintenance guy, fantastic maintenance guy, the best maintenance guy in all the land. Maintenance. And I think, but it's at the end of the season they can give him a big juicy wet kiss goodbye, because he deserves the best send off, and he always does. He wins the league with Leicester, helps Cagliari survive, helps Roma get back to where they should be. And speaking of where Roma should be, they can get Europe.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they can get fucking Europe.
Yes.
And with the form that they're on,
because they made up a lot of ground very quickly.
Yep.
with quite a few games to play. So they're right there. I think conference would be a realistic objective, but at the rate they're going,
even Europa,
they could get Europa as well. Yeah,
Points-wise, they can absolutely make Europa. They're 5 points
it's true.
behind Lazio.
Yeah, it's true. They definitely can at the rate that they're going. And hats off to Ranieri.
Absolutely.
Dilly ding, dilly dong.
Dilly
ding,
dilly dong. We're in Champions League.
We are in Champions League.
Champions League. Relegation.
That's our mom's team.
Yeah, and moving on. This is how it stands with 14 matches to go. I'm not gonna count Como, I'm not gonna count Udinese. I'm gonna count from 14th down. We really didn't discuss Udinese. We'll discuss them now. with Empoli being a part of this discussion.
They won 3-0. If you want to have a breakdown of that.
Okay, let me do the table.
Sure.
And then we'll jump into that immediately, and we can jump by the individual game by game. The relegation battle with 14 matches left to go from 14th place down. Cagliari on 25 points in 14th place. Level on points with Lecce in 15th place. Under them in 16th place, Verona on 23 points. Empoli in 17th place on 21 points. 1 point behind them in 18th place, and therefore relegation zone, are Parma. Under them by 4 points in 19th place, Venezia. 2 points under them in last place, Monza. That's what it is looking like.
And 2 of the teams in the bottom 3 have brand new managers. So Monza have gone back to Nesta, and Parma have appointed Kivu. We'll see how that
and it is very interesting to see. Cagliari have held on to the same manager, because I think they should be hanging on to the same manager, because they've had 2 negative spells. Other than that, they've surprised everyone this season.
I think when it comes to the whole season so far, they've been the most consistent.
For sure, ones. I agree. At a point, they had 4 losses in a row, but it wasn't a tough spell.
Yeah, Empoli started the best. They had a very good start to the season. Empoli, they looked very well structured and organized, but that's collapsed, and they're like on the opposite form that Roma.
To be fair, because I'm of the same opinion as you, but they have loads of injuries, Empoli, and they also played their last few games: Inter, Bologna, Juve, Milan, Udinese. Now Atalanta, then Juve, then Genoa, then Roma. And then they get some easier games.
But with Ismaili at the back, with Goglio Cheese, everyone who was over there at the start, they were doing really well.
It's true. Even against
they were really solid.
Teams.
They weren't conceding much. But now to lose 3-0 to Udinese, a team that's usually, that usually doesn't go crazy with the goals. But you look at their team right now, yes, it's totally diminished, man. Their injury list.
I mean, the last 10 games, 8 losses, 2 draws.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 injuries they have. Listen to this.
Man.
Marjanucci was suspended. Ismaili's out. Viti's out. Ebouéhi's out. These are all important players.
Ebouéhi's been out all season.
Haas is out. Fazzini's out. Solbaken's out. Anjorin is out. Sazonov is out. And Pellegri's out.
Fuck my ass, man. That's crazy. Sorry.
That's fine. I forgive you for swearing on our podcast, man.
But there's been a lot of sodomy.
There's been a lot right now.
It's interesting to see which of these teams have held on to their manager. So Monza have changed their manager twice. Venezia have yet to change their manager. And they're on one hell of a negative run. And they're one before the last. But clearly they like what they're seeing from Madonna.
Di
Di Francesco.
I think that the way they play, again, it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those where they play positive football. They're very organized and they almost manage every game. They almost manage every game.
Sassuolo last year.
And
they got relegated. Or no, sorry, like Frosinone and Monza are Sassuolo.
Yeah, exactly. You look at, for example, the fact that Hellas Verona are still with Zanetti. It just goes to show that probably the lack of options are really making people. And the fact that Parma went for Kivu, for example, surely there's a drought in the market. There's a drought.
No shit people they're staying with their guys. Because if it's people like Bocchetti, Monza had to go back to Nesta because they couldn't find anyone else. They didn't want Nesta. They got rid of Nesta. They got someone who had 8 losses for Hellas Verona instead of him. That's how much they didn't want Nesta anymore.
And now they wanted him back and they got him back. I don't know.
Yeah. Udinese absolutely destroyed Empoli. Empoli got embarrassed once again. It was a baptism of fire for Silvestri. But just to highlight Udinese a little bit, Ekkelenkamp has been ridiculous. I'm not talking about because he has 3 goals in 2 games. But he's a revelation for Udinese.
He really has been.
That kind of... Not to draw a comparison, but he is to Udinese like what Cope Miners was to that Atalanta team. And how intelligent he is with his positioning, his versatility, his eye for a goal. I'm really enjoying Ekkelenkamp recently.
It's true. I'm really enjoying Udinese's manager, Runic.
Yeah.
He deployed a 4-4-2 this game. He relied on quick transitions, high pressing, width from the wingers. It was really good and they counter-attacked, and to be honest their counter-attacks looked super dangerous, and I really like the way that Lovric has been playing in this team, kind of dictating the tempo. Yes, not to mention that Sole, man, like a glove.
Yeah,
like a glove, bro. Fitting.
He's exactly what they needed, I feel. Sole.
Empoli tried their 3-5-2. They struggled to create chances. They were vulnerable defensively, particularly on transitions. Their key opportunities were missed. And Silvestri, I think, made it actually look better than it really was, because they could have lost by more.
Yeah, a new signing from Sampdoria. As a Sampdoria fan, Oli, the guy that is representing Italy in the Eurovision, the guy that won, what's it called again? That big festival, Sanremo.
The reason why the Italian teams all shot the bed in the Champions League.
And the reason, it's a very Italian festival, and the winner represents Italy in the Eurovision, which has a very different style to Italy, but how Italian it is to stick to tradition and whatever. Of course, you say that Måneskin won it recently, so does it matter? It works.
Why
sometimes.
Is it pronounced Måneskin,
but
not foreskin?
Måneskin or foreskin. My answer is gonna be it's like Swedish or some shit.
Okay. Fair enough.
Cool, bro. Good question though.
Thanks.
We did, I feel like, a good breakdown of the relegation battle at the moment. One thing that I have to say, if there's nice things to say about Venezia, how much I'm enjoying the new addition of Kike Perez.
He's been good in midfield next to Nicolosi, man.
Very industrious. He is the definition of a box-to-box midfielder. He's good at winning the ball deep and then carrying it forward. I feel like Venezia, bless them, they have a well-balanced midfield, particularly him and Nicolosi. Because Nicolosi, he's not a regista, but he's not a mezzala either.
Yes, it's
you know
he's somewhere
what I mean?
in between.
He's somewhere in between because he controls the tempo of a game, but he'll have a rachen, he'll have another.
He's the heart and soul, bro. I tuned in to watch Villa and I stayed for Nicolosi. Every time I flick on Venezia, I'm staring at Nicolosi.
So tidy. He's tidy, really good. He's tidy and he's audacious, man.
Definitely. What a talent.
Yeah.
And they have a few nice.
Is he going back to Juve?
No, bro, I don't think so.
No?
I don't know.
Juve are letting some beasts go, huh?
But that's the point, eh? That's the point. That's the strategy. That's their money-making factory.
How much money are they going to make from? Some of Venezia have money. Let me see the details of the Cagliari.
Of course, in the meantime, I'll mention...
Obligation to buy with conditions.
There we go. With conditions. No relegation is probably one of the conditions.
Literally, man.
Oristanio is another player who I enjoy a lot, for example. And It Says, man. It Says is really good, obviously.
It Says, say it.
The first ever Indonesian in Serie A.
I'm trying to find the detail of Caviglia. Obligations aren't often public.
Many of the deals aren't often public. How many elements of deals?
I don't know.
Fabrizio gets his greasy hands on them.
Yeah. Insomma, have a look, guys. Look it up.
Yeah, look it up. And
it's hard to read. It's
been one hell of a day.
At the same time, it has been. I worked from home before this episode, and my mind is really... I had meeting after meeting, but my mind is really clear. Shall we jump to the listener questions?
Yes!
Yay! Campbell. We're back with listener questions.
Okay, so Campbell asks, of course, patrons get priority in our listener questions, but we do try to answer all
I love our patrons so much, dog.
I want to hear your thoughts on Roma's progress with Ranieri. Of course, we've just spoken about that. Shout out, Campbell. Thank you for the question, but we answered you prematurely.
I'm glad we're giving you guys what you were seeking through the pod. That's a good sign for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a perfect breakdown of that.
Andrew Batman, our boy, he asks, are we going to cheer for Juve, Lazio, Roma and Inter now in Europe to get the coefficient up? Personally, I always want the Italian teams to do well in Europe.
Even before the coefficient. Within limits. Reasonable limits. I don't want any of them winning the fucking...
Yeah. Obviously, I'm still a fan of my club and I still don't want to be on the receiving end of Inter winning the Champions League, for example.
Shut the fuck up, bro. Shut the fuck up.
I wish them all the success in the world until the final. And then I'm against
He puts it well for the coefficient. I want them to do well for the coefficient. I like that. Like, I hate how Atalanta got knocked out to Bruges and Milan get knocked out to Feyenoord because it makes us look like a fucking joke. Keep in mind, we are Serie A spotlight. We're not Milan spotlight or top 7 Italian team spotlight. We love Serie A. We want Serie A to go all the way. But they were Milan fans. So if Milan can do that, it would be great. Inter can keep making the final and losing.
Giancarlo on Instagram says Juve can still win the league if Napoli and Inter keep dropping silly points like this.
Yes, bro. I mean,
up comes the team.
So Atalanta,
it's 10 points.
Yeah, there's 10 points. There's technically even Lazio with that argument, but Juve, they only lost 1 game. Lazio lost 7. Yes, bro. It'll take. I'm not gonna lie. It'll be quite a miracle, but the league is open with 56 points, 54 points, 51 points, and then 2 teams on 46.
I think it will be really telling with their next 2 games, because their next 2 games are against Empoli and Verona, both games at home. They can get 6 points like that.
Isn't Empoli Coppa?
Sorry, it might have been. I didn't notice. Yes, it is Coppa. Sorry. So it's Cagliari and Cagliari away,
Verona.
and then Verona, and then they play Atalanta, Fiorentina, and then Genoa, Roma, Lecce, Parma. So yes, they have a spell right now where they can win a few games and see where they stand. You know what I mean? It's getting tougher now because the teams above them, only Inter, are competing in the Champions League. The others are all, they're just focusing on the league right now. Personally, I think 10 points is a bit too much at this stage to make up, but you never know, eh?
You never know
how long this spell will last.
Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yes.
Mathematically,
keep in mind the decline that the top 2 teams are on. Obviously, how permanent is the decline? Keep in mind there was a point where Lazio, Fiorentina, and Atalanta looked unbeatable. In football, and it seems to be the case this season, teams go on runs. Now, Juve have been all season, it's like they're missing something. They don't lose many games. They only lost 1 game. They draw a hell of a lot. They don't have a killer instinct. Now they have a big confidence boost. They beat Inter. I think they'll beat PSV and they'll advance in the Champions League. That might not age well, but we'll see. Juve can go on a run. They can go on a fucking 10-game winning streak.
The question is, do you see
the top teams
let's say they're flawless. Points? Will the others drop 10 points?
I think so. I think the top teams will continue to drop points.
I don't know. Personally, I would say that Juve can't win the league. Personally, 10 points I think is too much at this stage. You would say they
Is
can?
It likely? No. I just want to highlight how open the league is.
Yes.
We don't have a clear winner yet. There's Napoli, Inter, and Atalanta. Like, to me right now, me and my crazy brain, I'm leaning towards Atalanta.
Yeah.
Which is mental because they're not on a great run of form either, but I'm leaning towards them for some weird reason.
Maybe.
I don't know. There's a lot that can happen.
Revenge after that poor call in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're feeling, vindictive, vengeful.
Oh, they have the top scorer. They have world-class players everywhere. They can do it.
Thank you, John, for the question. Moving on to Alejandro on Instagram, who says, is Colomwani the missing link to Motta Ball? I think that, yes, it is in the offensive department, and him dropping deep to help out kind of gives him the type of striker that he was after from the get-go. Not really what Vlahovic is, So yes, definitely helps, I think. I think, is he the missing link? You know what, man? To be honest, that striker was the biggest problem, I think. But
he's absolutely the missing link. Yeah. It sucks when a missing link is on a 6-month dry loan. Can they work out a deal? Maybe it'll be hard. PSG got him for 70 million. I think he's exactly what the team has been looking for. He is literally like Xerxes. The way that he plays is literally like Xerxes. I think he's a bit more direct and a bit quicker with a bit more goal instinct than Xerxes. He's like almost a quicker version of him. So I think he's absolutely the missing link. I think Vega was a missing link. I think the version of Cope Miners that we saw against Inter was a missing link as well.
Was much better in the second half. How he improved.
He's not a number 10. He did when he scored those many goals for Atalanta, he did not get them from a number 10 role. He got them from a number 8 role. That's where he needs to be playing in a funnily enough in a double pivot in midfield or a 3-man midfield somewhere there. Just intelligent positioning that gets him his goals and wild attempts and set pieces and penalties. That's how he shines. But don't put him as a secondary striker. That's not what he is.
He has many. It's true. Many elements to his game, definitely. But I do agree with you. He asks a question about the coefficient. What's your take on the 5th Champions League spot? To be honest, I don't have it prepared, so I can't quite. I'm not quite in a position to answer. However, judging by how the Italian teams have been in the second half of the season, I'm not too confident with it. Maybe Lazio and Roma can make up for it in the Europa League.
Potentially. I'm not very
confident.
Fiorentina in the conference always do us a solid, because obviously the competition is what it is, and Fiorentina are doing well. I think Lazio are doing very well in the Europa League. And I think going back on what I said a few episodes ago, I think they have the depth to handle it. Will they focus on that? Will they focus on getting Champions League? I think Roma can do a good push as well. But when it comes to the Champions League, unfortunately, I don't see Inter doing too well. And I don't see Juve progressing too much as well. So I think we're in trouble, boys. I think Milan need to get top 4, is what I think of the coefficient.
The proper way.
Yeah.
Unless Juve get caught cheating.
Yeah! Or Napoli.
Woo! I'm really sorry. Like, Milan killed me yesterday, bro. I haven't been the same.
Bro, you just wait for the
I woke up sad. You know that never happens.
Bro, you wait for Torino and then Bologna.
That game demoralized the shit out of me. Because like, how long are you just gonna be like, we're unlucky?
No, look, we blamed everyone. We blamed Fonseca. We blamed the ownership. Now, I'm looking at you, players. the stupid decisions players make. Show some growth, show some maturity, show some leadership qualities. It's only when things are looking good, you're mature and you're insane. What's this, man? Against Feyenoord, 56th minute, whatever.
I'm saying instead of medicals, Milan should have IQ tests done.
100%.
Because this is just ridiculous at this point.
Would you shoot or pass in this situation? It's the 56th minute. We need a goal. What do you do in this situation? Wrong. You don't dive, Theo.
Exactly. No, Musa, you don't foul him there. But anyway.
Chukwueze, you mark Zalewski there. You don't double man someone in the middle.
No, Manyan, you don't post on your Instagram stories after a mistake.
Bad day in the office.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Bad day at the office. Shut up, man.
Tomori, you can wear underwear, but wear pants before you post pictures. Walker, leave her alone. Anyway, whatever. Frank has some good ones, bro.
Frank.
Listen to this one. Who will last longer in their current roles, Conceição or Motta?
3, 2.
Wait. You're ready?
You haven't thought about it, like.
No. Well, yes, I have actually, but I can't decide. Okay. Who will last longer?
Who'll last longer?
3, 2,
1.
1.
Motta. I agree. I think Motta is a project manager. I think Conceição tends to clash with players and Motta empowers players. So I think that's the key difference.
I think, so while I agree with you, the volatile nature of Milan's management heavily influenced my decision. The fact that they are so quick to punish and to execute and to whatever, fire managers. I think that's the main reason that's what mainly influenced my decision. Plus, not to mention like the way they've been handling like Maldini and Tonali and the way they're so cutthroat.
Fonseca.
Yeah, while Motta, I think it's already been kind of understood that even if they don't get Champions League, they're looking at this long term.
Let's put it this way. It's not a certainty Conceição will be at Milan at the end of the season. You have made it very clear that Motta will be there next season, even if they finish 16th.
Yeah. His next question. Who is better, title-winning Anguissa under Spalletti or Anguissa under Conte?
Numbers-wise, it's now under Conte.
Yeah.
What a question.
Now. He's improved, I think. He's become even better than he was. He was very good under Spalletti in that system. But he's doing great in the system as well. And he's improved his output.
But you know what it is? He's a different midfielder now to what he was under Spalletti. Because with Spalletti, he had Lobotka, who he still has now, but I just feel like Lobotka that was that little bit cleaner in that season. He was a tidier, more press resistant. That was his prime.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Zielinski is very different to McTominay. I'm just wondering which one I prefer. I think I'd say Nauta, because now he always had that grinta. He always had the technique. He's such a well-rounded midfielder. But the fact that his numbers have improved so much, which is maybe the thing he was missing. Now, I have him on Fantacalcio. I had him both seasons. I love him now.
Of course, Fantacalcio. But he's playing way more like box-to-box, and he's so involved in the offensive phase as well. Yes, I would say now. Is Fabregas already ready for a jump to a bigger club? No, I would say that he has it good right now, Fabregas. I think that he can help Como become a great club while he's there. I think that the management is giving him the tools to succeed in a place where there's less pressure. There's no reason I think that he should take the risk, for his career.
Question is, if you were to throw him into Juve right now, how would he do?
He might do all right, but the fact is that he hasn't done anything. So winning the respect of the players, earning the respect of the players when things are hard or when you're in a negative spell, You don't
Fabregas
have. You don't
is a
have
legend.
that. He's a legend in football as a player. Of
Yes,
course.
yes, but of course the Zidane effect when
Yeah.
he walks into the dressing room.
But you know what I mean? Motta doesn't have much. He's still a new manager, but he can say, "Hey, listen, guys, I got Bologna Champions League. I can get you Champions League." You know what I mean?
think I like 2 solid seasons rather than 1. Of course, he got them promoted, but by the skin of his whatever that saying, the skin of their teeth. Yeah. And now he's doing a good job. He has them playing amazing football. I think with a team of insane players or like a Fiorentina or a Bologna, Fabregas right now would be doing a sick job. In my opinion, do I think he should make that step? No, because there's less pressure, as you said, right now at a team like Como. I feel like with that team right now, just promoted from Serie B, you're always going to be overperforming in that sense. And I think he is part of the long-term project over there. I think, again, within the next 5 seasons, Como will be titans, in my opinion, in Serie A. They won't have a downfall like Monza. Even if they face bankruptcy and they have to change owners and whatever, the brand that they're building, that board that they have of former players and football minds that are just orchestrating this long-term sustainable project. Hopefully, they don't spend too audaciously and they end up in any bankruptcy situations. I don't think so, because, hello, Indonesian tobacco companies are friggin' loaded.
Yeah.
Have you been to Indonesia? Everyone is smoking there. So yeah,
Except Jay, it says.
Except for Jay, it says.
The first ever Indonesian
So I think
Serie A.
I think we disagree there, but agree at the same time. I think Fabregas will be doing a sick job now. It's just not worth it for him.
Let's
to take
not forget,
risk.
this is his first season.
Yes.
It was Ocean Rogers. What's his name?
Yes.
Ocean.
Ocean Rogers.
Yeah. Last question. Come on. Can't believe you're even asking this, Frank.
Frankie.
Could Lucca start regularly for a top 6 Serie A club?
Let's do this way. Let's go through the top 6 and see who he would start for now.
So
would
Napoli.
Would he start at Napoli?
No.
Because Conte plays with Lukaku. He's vital for that. Let's say no.
No.
At
Inter.
Right now,
no.
I
think he gets a sniff though.
He gets.
Because I'm sure they'd rather play.
He'll be like Taremi, but getting way more minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be happier with him.
I mean,
he's an definitely he'd be their best substitute.
He'd be starting right now, but overall, in theory, on paper, no. Right? Because there's Thuram and Lautaro, but he would definitely get a sniff. Atalanta.
It depends if they're playing 2 up top or 1 up top, but at the moment, no.
Atalanta's a team definitely not, right? Because it's Retegui.
No, but sometimes they play 3-5-2.
But he likes very, very mobile, nimble players when he's playing a target man. The likes of Samar, Zilcha, CDK, whatever. Maldini now. Juve.
Not with
Colomwani. Lazio.
Hit start. At Lazio, hit start.
But what...
Ahead of Tati.
What Tati does for them is very unique, huh?
I think, but I thought about this. I think what Lucca and Tati do is quite similar. I just think that Lucca is a better in the box striker, and Tati obviously is better at linking up. But Lucca can link up. He can.
But then Tati, man, he has that technique, that ability to dribble, to take on a man, that ball control. I think for what Baroni wants, Tati works really well. However, yes, I think Lucca has strengths that Castellanos literally lacks. Goal scoring, for example. His finishing. Tati isn't as good as Lucca at all.
It's a tougher question, I thought, because at Fiorentina he doesn't start either.
And then Fiorentina have Moise Kean, exactly.
And then Milan have Jimenez, Bologna have Castro, Roma have Dovbyk.
That's because most of the teams have strengthened in this winter market.
Yes.
Prior to Colomwani and Jimenez, he would have started at Milan and Juve, in my opinion.
I think a lot of teams can move towards Lucca and he could become a starter from next season. So I don't see Inter hanging on to Marcus Thuram. I see them cashing in. Lucca will be an excellent shout over there. Napoli, if they want to play with a 2 up top system, or Lukaku, they decide to part ways with him. Lucca is an option over there. Juve, if Moani doesn't stay, okay, they need kind of a different profile, but he's an option. He's an option for Lazio.
He can play second fiddle in most teams, though, I think.
He can compete.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, this season, no, he doesn't start for a top 6 team, unfortunately.
No, because of the way they've strengthened.
Maybe Lazio.
Literally.
Because I think Lazio, to be honest, they would also benefit from having a Jimenez-type striker.
And right now, obviously, because of form, I think he could actually, funnily enough, do a job at Inter. I think, yeah. But very good question, and very eye-opening, insightful. I worry for Lucca's future in the league, because these teams seem set. And to be honest, man, he could do a job in the Premier League. He'd be like a Graziano Pelle type.
We're underrating him here. I think
he's very good, man. He's a great player, Lucca.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
I need to piss so badly, so this is the first time I'm actually glad an episode is over. Yep. Guys, we'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll be in a better mood and wearing Milan kits.
I hope so.
But
Matthew came in black and blue to rub salt into my veins, like
Atalanta, to power
into my
for
veins,
Atalanta,
into my wounds. You heard that? To rub salt into my veins,
rub salt on my dick.
to my foreskin.
That's a present for those of you that watch the whole thing. I see you people that skip. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate every single one of you. We'll be back next week doing our bit, and we love you all so much.
Become a patron, eh?
Become a patron.
What are you waiting for?
Become
on $3.99. What are you for?
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.